Hey guys, I'm Bryson here. Welcome to my show, and today we're going to be reacting to Joe Franco, which, by the way, I think this girl is like 27, 28 years old and bought her first car at age 27. Now, I'm 24 years old. I've never had a car. I've had several bikes, though. Let's be honest here. I live in New York, so that's my vehicle for everything. I sold my bike, by the way, for a profit after a year of actually using it. Actually, 2 years of using it, so that's awesome. But for this video right here, we're going to find out exactly, did this girl right here buy the car the correct way? Did she buy it the wrong way? In this video, we're gonna break down everything. I'm always interested in exactly how people actually go out there and make those big purchases, okay? Without further ado, let's see exactly what happens. If you're new here, like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. And by the way, also guys, comment down below and let me know, at what age did you get your very first car? I'm interested, okay? For me, it'll be age 24. It'll probably be a Corolla. I wanted a 2017 model, but most likely I'll probably get a 2014 model. Maybe, okay? I really don't ever care about like the camera stuff. That's all I really care about. But yeah, comment down below. Let me know exactly what your first car was or what it will be, and also the car model. Without further ado, let's see exactly how this girl right here bought her first car.
Funny, I was never good at math, but I'm not bad with money. Failed.
That's interesting.
Accounting twice.
By the way, accounting has nothing to do with math. People keep thinking that accounting has something to do with math. It doesn't. I did a whole bachelor's degree in accounting. It doesn't have anything to do with math whatsoever. It's just journal entries and also understanding the taxation code. And that has nothing to do with math. The calculators and basically software does all the work for you. It's just knowing where to put things.
I feel like Hugh Hefner with this shirt on.
Who is Hugh Hefner? Like, there's all these popular names that I know of, and I really don't. I think that book right there is actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, that book right there is a 4-hour work week. I recognize so many books, huh? That's awesome.
Baby.
Before, the only thing I recognized was the most popular sneakers out there, but now I can recognize books. That's awesome. By the way, this girl has a lot of trees in this whole studio, so that's awesome.
I didn't own a car until I was about 27 years old.
That is crazy, but awesome. If you live in New York City, like, you don't really need a car whatsoever.
So my mom, being a very Brazilian mother, had this rule when we were growing up. We weren't allowed to get our license until we were 18, which I'm like,
okay.
Mãe, a gente não tá no Brasil. And she didn't care. So I didn't learn to drive until I was living in New York City. And
me on the subway circuit 2011. By the way, I had this whole idea that I didn't want to get a license because basically I got a license to get a car in New York. But I got my license. I think I was like I just got my license like this year, right? So I was 24 when I got my license. 24 or 23? Yeah, 24, I think. I got my license at 24. And I can drive in the highway, all that stuff. I rent my own cars, all that stuff when I go like outside of like the thing outside of America. But yeah, having a license as early as possible is very important. That way also, guess what? When it comes to getting your first car, your insurance costs not gonna be that high, okay? The sooner you get it, the better it is.
So then I really didn't use my license and I didn't need a car.
Oh, that right there is actually the Metro North. It's so cool knowing the city.
Then I moved to LA. I lived in LA without a car for 5+ years.
Me in Los Angeles.
Until I realized one day that spending money on rideshare apps was actually more expensive.
Oh, so she was actually doing the whole rideshare. I thought she just lived like close to everything. You know, in New York, I don't spend money on Ubers. Like, I just take the train, or for example, I just take my bike or my scooter down the road. Well, my scooter now because I don't have a bike anymore. But yeah, I sold the bike for $560 and I bought it for like $500 or $480. After 2 years of use, I still made a profit on it. That's awesome. But it did have cost to it, you know, like changing the wheels, making sure everything was solid. So it wasn't like all that.
Than owning a car. So that's when I decided it was
it was love at first sight. 2019. No, this was 2 years ago. But this video was like posted this year. Interesting.
Time to buy my own vehicle. So here's some tips if you're thinking about buying your car.
And by the way, before she says anything, I just want to establish a rule here. Whenever you buy a car, you want to buy a used vehicle. You want to save up for it in cash, that way you don't borrow the money. Buying something that depreciates with time, a massive liability, and borrowing the money for it and all that stuff is not a good idea. If you buy a car that's 3 to 5 years old, you get a 50% discount on something that was actually worth a ton of money. You pay cash for it, that way you don't have any payments. So you'll have maintenance and also, for example, the insurance costs. That's a good idea. If you can't afford the car you want, guess what? Spend $3,000, $5,000, or even $1,000 and get a decent car until you can afford the car you want. Don't lease a vehicle. It's one of the most expensive ways to actually own a car. It's a very bad idea, okay? Very bad idea.
First things first, decide if you want to buy or lease. After doing some digging and doing some math, I realized that for me, the best option was to buy a car. Because if you're leasing, you're always going to have a monthly payment.
Yes, sir. And it's going to be one of the most expensive ways to actually have a car in your possession. And you never own it. It's ridiculous. But Tommy, if you buy a car and it's used and then you drive it around, it loses value. How about you just don't sell the car and just use it until like the wheels fall off and just take care of it? Like when I buy my first car, I'm not going to get a new car for the next like 5 to 10 years. You know, I'm gonna ride that. I'll take care of it, of course. You know, it's all about maintenance, but I'm not gonna be switching out cars every now and then. That makes no sense. Depreciation in the car slows down as it gets like low, like as it gets older. You know, year 5 to year 10, you don't have the same depreciation as you would in year 1 and year 5, because that's like a 50% depreciation rate.
Or you can lease to buy, which is an option as well.
Ridiculous also.
I didn't love the idea of leasing a car just because if I can shed one bill every month, then I will do that. And when
Great concept.
you buy, even though you might have monthly payments because you're
Oh, but you're financing. Again, not the way I would recommend, okay? And I'm not the type of person, I like someone on YouTube, so I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, pretty cool stuff. No, I will disagree, and I will tell you, you don't want to get a payment on a car. Just buy a used car.
financing the car unless you pay.
But Tommy, I don't feel safe in this car. Hey, look, bro, all these cars that they're making these days, they're pretty safe. You know, they wouldn't be on the road if it weren't safe, you know? So, big excuse, like, I want to get this Range Rover because I feel really safe here. No, you feel like this fancy, okay? Be honest with yourself. Be honest.
It all at once, but eventually that payment will end. So you'll pay up until you reach the value of the car, and then at which point you don't have that bill anymore and the car's 100% yours. Of course, there's that saying that people say a
car depreciates the minute you drive it off the lot.
which is
It is true.
true as far as money
Like 10%.
is concerned, but it's not like it's not of value to you because you're
And by the way, when do you buy a new car? When you can afford one. If you can afford to buy a new car for cash and it's not like more than the money you make every single year and basically like your net worth, then you do it, right? If I want to go out there and want to buy a Tesla for $30,000, I could do that. Is it a smart idea? Not really a bad idea in my current situation, but I wouldn't do it at all. You know, I'd rather just buy a $10,000, $8,000 car, call it a day, you know, ride that for 5 years. In 5 years, my income is a lot higher, my net worth is a lot higher, and everything's just a lot more solid. But you have priorities first before you get to this buying this car thing.
using the
A to B, guys, A to B. Same thing if you're A to B, okay? Don't worry too much about how you get there. In style or whatever, you're still getting
car
there.
to get around. But again, do the math. There's a great YouTube video down below by one of my favorite YouTubers who talks about the difference financially between buying and leasing. The reason why people like
Who's that person? I wanna know who that person is that talks about it when it comes to buying a car. Did she link the video? Don't forget to subscribe. My job. So she didn't link the video. Why did I want to know, guys? Because I love like knowing about other creators, because that way I get to see what they do and what I'm not learning, so I can basically learn from what they're doing also. Okay, you're always learning if you want to do YouTube, always.
leases though, which I get, is that the repairs are taken care of, it's less hassle, you're not coming out of pocket as much, but be aware that you're always gonna have that monthly payment. And then
Yeah, it's a cost to it. It's kind of like, you know what I like about renting? That I don't have to worry about anything. But yeah, but guess what? You're always renting. You know, you always have that rent bill. But when you're the landlord, yeah, you have unexpected costs here and there. But if you save up money for it, you're good to go. And people act like cars just break down all of a sudden. No, if you buy a good, reliable car, you take it to the mechanic at least once or twice a year, right? You'll be solid. You'll be good. You'll take care of it. It's the same thing as your body. If you take care of your body, you're not gonna get like sick all of a sudden, although it might happen genetically, but a car's not genetic, okay? So let's erase that conversation.
the other perk about leasing is that you get to swap out the car for a newer car, but if you're like me, who's not like a car enthusiast and
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
doesn't need
It's like the same concept with this whole iPhone thing. You get this payment with Sprint or T-Mobile, and you lease this whole thing. I think it's like Sprint had this whole thing. You lease the phone for like 2-3 years. You always, or every year you get a new iPhone, but you're never the owner of this iPhone. Never, ever. And your bills just get higher and higher. It's ridiculous.
need a car every year or every 2 years, then you don't need a lease. Who am I trying to impress, y'all? Who I'm trying to
I like it.
impress is my bank account by saving
Nice. Well said.
money. Plus, another perk of owning a car is that when you're ready to sell the car, if you own it, you get a trade-in value. Of course, it's not going to
Yeah, but you'll probably want to sell it on the open market for yourself because the trading value is not going to be that good at all.
be the same amount of money as you once paid for it because, like we said, a car depreciates the minute you drive it off the lot, but it's still going to be something towards
I love how the whole video, there's no option about used vehicles, you know. Used vehicle is an option, okay? It is an option. And don't listen to your parents saying like, oh, you're not buying used vehicle, they're bad, all that stuff. You know, cars are not when your parents drove them, okay? It's not the same thing anymore. You take care. My grandfather always complained about his used car. I never saw this guy take it to the mechanic until it was broken. Until it had a problem, he would not take it there, you know? That's the thing. If you don't maintain a car, you're gonna have problems with them. I remember he was so mad. He spent like $3,000 on the transmission of that car. He was pissed. He was so upset.
Don't be afraid to buy a used car. A lot of people...
That's what I recommend. Used cars. And also, by the way, you can actually get a I think it's a not pre-qualified. This video confused the heck out of me with those like loan thing. It's called a certified used car. Yes, that's what it's called, a certified used car. When it's been inspected and it also has a warranty on it. Certified used vehicles. Pretty solid stuff.
Are weary.
But a lot of mechanics say that stuff actually matters. Just buy a used car for a decent price and get inspected for yourself. That way you can avoid the premium that you actually pay.
Of buying a used car, but I am a used car owner and she is proud of it. I actually bought a used car that used to be a rental, which is controversial. Some people...
Yeah, because you put so many miles on it. I got a rental in Puerto Rico. It was a 2019 and it had 248,000 miles on it. That's how crazy it was. It 2019? Yeah, I think it was like that, bro. It's like a lot of miles in that car. And every time you ran it, it just felt like the doors were about to just like, Be very careful, right? You don't want some crazy mileage on the car. And you want to buy a reliable brand that the parts are not going to be too expensive. Toyotas are great. Hondas are great.
People might not like that idea because there's this whole philosophy that there's more wear and tear on a rental because so many people rent it. But what I found is that if you're buying a modest car, like my car is a Ford Fusion sedan, it's a hybrid. The person who's renting a Ford Fusion sedan hybrid is not going to be doing donuts on the highway, and the wear and tear is not going to be extreme.
That is true also.
The thing about buying a used rental also is that they have to go through a series of inspections and pass tests by the rental agencies so that they can continue to be rented. So when you're buying a rental, sure, it has a little bit more mileage than somebody's personal car. So buying a used rental is a great way to buy a used car that feels like new with a used car price.
Not really. Okay. not really. It's more like, you know, it's more like they gotta pass certain tests to make sure that the car is safe and it can actually be operational. But it doesn't mean like this car is like tip-top shape, almost brand new. That's not what that means.
Find out when the warranty expires, because cars are expensive, not
very well
just
said.
Because when you buy them it's expensive, but the maintenance on cars.
But by the way, you know, I had a call on the Ask Me Bryson channel, link down below, subscribe over there. And the call was all about how this guy had a car and it broke down. He was like, I had no idea this was gonna happen. I was like, have you ever checked it out? He said, no, I never got it checked. The answer is cars they're machinery. Machinery in a balance statement has to be, I'm talking accounting here, but when you have a machinery or whatever it is, right? The idea is you gotta be ready for maintenance or broken down parts or whatever it is. So what do? You save up money, a sinking fund for this car repairs. So that way you're good to go. Maybe 5% or 10% of the actual value of the car. If it's worth $20,000, you save $2,000 or $4,000 in there. You got the money there. If anything breaks down, you're good to go. But don't just expect things to go wrong, right? And be like, I didn't expect this. You had to expect it. You know, things break all the time.
Get expensive, especially.
And always check the car out, make sure the oil is solid. Learn to change your own oil. Even if I don't have a car, I know that's common sense because they charge you so much money when you go get it changed by a professional.
Especially if you get some older car that needs a lot of work, or a foreign car where the parts are hard to buy.
And very expensive. Not just hard to buy. Everything's easy to buy in America, but I think I remember the radiator went out, and I think it was T-Pain, the rapper, in his Bugatti. And it was like, per the whole thing, it was like he could buy like 3 more cars just to replace this one radiator. It was ridiculous.
The downside to buying a newish car that's a rental is that you might buy it right at the line where the warranty expires. And
yeah, maybe.
So you just want to be aware of that before you buy it.
Because they want to dump it because they're like, okay, so let's dump this car before things get bad.
If you could buy a used car that has lower mileage where the warranty is still put.
And by the way, the warranty is not the big deal here. It's about buying. It's kind of like when you buy a fridge and well, not a fridge. I should say is if you buy something and there's a warranty attached to it, but the lifetime capability of this thing is like, 10 times that warranty. The idea is just make sure you get it inspected first. It's like when you buy a house and it has warranty for the first year. Does that mean you don't buy it? No, because it has a lifetime on that whole house too, right? So that's the idea. It's not just like about the warranty. It's more about like, hey, how's this car condition and how can I maintain it to make sure it keeps running correctly for the rest of the life? I know people that have had cars for 10, 15 years and they are working amazingly, but it's about taking care of it. It's your body, right? If you exercise, take care of it, same thing, same logic, okay? But if you don't, you're gonna have a problem in 10, 15 years.
Applicable, that's the win-win. But if you're like me, you buy a car and like the next day the warranty expires, it is what it is. One of the things that I learned
it is what it is.
Hard way is that when your warranty expires, you have to come out of pocket for any battery damages. So
yeah.
After a long trip, I came home to find my car dead, and I had to come out of pocket $400 to get that battery replaced.
Yeah. Oh. And my mom had that problem a lot. The way you make sure that doesn't happen is you want to turn the car every now and then and give it time. Because I watched this girl's videos before, so I know she leaves the country or where she lives for like 6 months and then comes back every now and then. But you gotta have that car running in some way, right?
Rest in peace. If you're leasing a car or if you're buying a car, it's really important to know the mileage average that people recommend that you have per year. For instance, some
so stupid, man. But by the way, a lot of the time, not her, the whole leasing thing is so stupid. And the whole thing is like, oh, if you go beyond this, then we're gonna charge you this much. But in reality, you should be fine if you're gonna be driving around the same that you usually drive around. Don't be too scared about it. But again, don't lease a car. It's so expensive. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Leases will actually limit you on your mileage at 12,000 to 15,000 miles.
Yes, sir.
A year. And
yes, ma'am.
If you go over that, like if you love taking road trips, a lease might not be your best choice. Because if you're taking road trips, you're gonna go past that mileage, and then you're gonna end up paying so much money when you give the lease back, and ain't nobody got time for hidden fees. Another way to determine a car's value if you're buying a car is also to divide the number of years it's.
Or you want to use, what's this website? Kelly's Blue Book. They have a great website when it comes to evaluating cars, and they tell you the exact same price. And I think she's about to calculate the salvage value, not the actual car value here.
Been around by 12,000 miles, which is the average amount of miles that people recommend that you drive it a year. If the average number is more than 12,000, then you know that that car has been used a lot more than an average car.
Oh, I see what she's saying. She's saying basically, if I buy a car that's 5 years old, but it has over 60,000 miles, it means it's been used a lot more than the average car should. So now you have a whole idea of like, okay, what's the salvage on this car? Like, how long is it supposed to last? How many miles, But, it all depends also how you've been taken care of. It's kind of like if you have someone it depends, Like if you have someone that puts a lot of miles on the car but takes care of it like a baby, no big deal. But if you have someone that puts even $40,000, like 40K miles on a car, like the right thing, everything's good, but treats it like trash and doesn't take care of it whatsoever, it doesn't, like, again, you want to get it inspected by professionals. It's going to be the biggest
AKA a rental. Like my car had way more than 12,000 miles
yes, sir.
a year on it when I did the math, but it was still a good value for me because it was a great car and felt like new despite the high mileage. And it wasn't too high where it was alarming, but it was higher than somebody's personal vehicle. Know all the hidden fees before you go in to buy a car.
They call them the phantom costs. You have the maintenance, you have the insurance, you have, well, that's basically about it, right? Maintenance and insurance. Maintenance and insurance. And not just, it's more like just like fixed cost maintenance where something breaks, but you also have ongoing maintenance to make sure that it's going to keep running and running and running.
Because I'm telling you, y'all, buying a car is like a Shark Tank episode. It's really intense. A lot of the dealerships might include these like random unnecessary things that you don't need to be paying.
Don't get any of that stuff. All those little add-ons and by the way, it's a concept of sales. Like if you read books on sales, it's very basic. It's the idea that if I sell you something that's so expensive, like a $30,000 car, and I say like, hey, just add some warranty for $200, or just add this little mirror here for like $100. You're like, no big deal. I'm already paying so much money for this, right? What's another $100, $300 gonna be? Okay, no, you don't buy all these little extra packs to try to give you and all this nonsense.
And unless you know what you're looking for, you might get ripped off. So
yes, sir.
So at the end of your
yes, ma'am.
purchase, be that guy. Ask for a line item receipt and ask
well, she said guy, right? So I can say yes,
about
sir.
every single cost and ask if it's necessary, and you'll be able to catch.
you can't ask the person that has like a massive motivation to sell you something if it's necessary or not, right? Because they have all the motivation. It's like me asking her, like, do you recommend Car Guru? But she has an ad for Car Guru. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I'm saying you don't want to do that. You don't want to ask someone that has like a bias like thing going on there. You know, you wanna do your research before you get there, so you know exactly. You may find like a trustworthy person, like she is with the whole, because she used Car Guru, all that stuff. So that's awesome. But you don't want to rely on the dealer to tell you, yeah, you definitely don't need this. And like, most likely they'll tell you, yeah, you need this.
Also, don't forget about all the fees that come associated with buying a car. It's not just buying the car. It's gas. It's insurance. It's maintenance fees.
Yeah.
It's registration. When you're
yeah. I can't wait to buy a car and pay all this stuff, man. I'm excited. Just kidding. I am not looking forward to that.
selecting a car, you might want to go on the modest side, because if you get an expensive car,
insurance is higher.
Once you bake in fees that come up, you're gonna be hurting. You gotta act broke to stay rich is my motto.
Hey, or just act frugal. By the way, the thing is, when people are acting broke or playing rich or whatever, they're copying poor people acting rich that really aren't rich. You know, it's kind of like, for example, I think being rich is this, but the people that actually act rich and put that mantra out there are actually poor. You know, like actually like balance statement poor. But the real wealthy people out there that have a lot of money, guess what? They don't drive those fancy cars. They don't live in like crazy neighborhoods, you know. And on top of that, they usually have a 9-to-5 job. So the real wealthy people out there, they're just like this. They're not the broke people. They're actually the rich people. So you're actually acting rich and not acting broke. It's vice versa.
Do whatever's good for you, but just be aware that whatever you think you're gonna pay that and so much more. Welcome to adulting, where bills never stop. And the last tip I have for you is do the math. See if owning a car
always run the numbers. Always run the numbers.
Is even right for you. If you live in a place where there is no public transportation, then you have no.
Florida, California, I've heard it's kind of bad. Connecticut, kind of bad also. Puerto Rico, kind of bad also. But like if you live in New York, bro, you have zero reason. Or like Chicago downtown, you have zero reason to like have a car. Like honestly, like I've been here for 5 years. I've never had a feeling where I'm just like, I wish I had a car right now. I just don't. You don't need a car.
No real option here. But you might even want to get creative and co-own a car with a friend. If you don't,
I would not do that. Terrible idea. I would not do that. Because then, for example, if your friend, not your friend no more, what you do then? Or your friend passes away, who you own a car with now? I wouldn't.
Don't have a car right now and you want to see if it's worth it, you might want to put all of the transportation that you spend on one credit card so you have an easy way to track how much money you're spending a month. And if that amount of money is...
Or just use a debit card. It's the same thing, okay? Be very careful with all this credit card thing and all this borrowing a lot of money.
More than it would be if you were buying a car, then there's your option, which is what I did. Everything comes down to math. If it makes...
Math is so amazing. You know, when I ran the numbers on this whole thing, I was like, back then, I spent $130 a month on transportation. On all these buses, all those things. And if I bought a car, I would spend $200 in insurance, gas, maintenance, all this stuff. It just didn't make sense. But back then, honestly, I would have probably gotten a car because I was working, for example, in Mount Kisco, and I was working like far away. It was like a 3-hour bus ride. But I used all that time to read all the books possible. And it helped me out a lot. I probably didn't have to go through all that stuff, but blessings come sometimes disguised during like bad situations.
Makes sense mathematically, then it's a good choice. I had my license for 9 years and then I finally bought my first car.
Which is a good idea, by the way. It's fine. Get your license early, even if you don't plan on having a car. Okay, get it as fast as possible.
So I lived a beautiful, abundant life without a car. We're living in a world where there's so many options to get around.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Public transportation is great. Rideshare apps are great.
Yeah, but rideshare apps are very expensive. Be very careful with that stuff.
Biking, walking, all of those things.
I love biking, man. You know, if New York had no state taxes and I could basically get the same tax deductions that I would in Puerto Rico, I would definitely like move to like Manhattan and just bike everywhere. Like J. Cole, the rapper. Just bike everywhere. Like everything is right there. You know, it's awesome. But then again, I don't want to live like in a closet, you know, because those places are very expensive and it's like a closet. Like you live in a closet.
They're great. But when you do buy a car, at least now you got some tips to save that shmoney. Another huge thank you to Car Gurus for...
Alright guys, so that is the end of this video. Do I think she made a good decision here? The answer is I don't know what the heck she did. You know, the whole video is more like advice instead of like saying like, hey, here's how I bought this car. I don't know if she paid cash for it, if she financed it, what she did. But my advice still stands whole to the first minute of this video. You buy a used car, 3 or 5 years old, save money for maintenance on this car and also ongoing maintenance, that we can take care of this car. And don't overthink the whole thing, okay? If you can't afford it right now, you'll wait a little bit. I remember when I was in college, I wanted to buy this Mercedes. It was a red Mercedes, and it was like, I think it was like $10,000. I was like, I can afford this, you know. So I saved up all the money, and I was like, I'm not buying this car. Are you crazy, you know? And my friend Jay, he had a little Toyota, and that, I think it was a Toyota or Honda, and he paid like $1,000 for that car, and he was like, and that car was amazing. Okay, so I probably should have bought like a little car back in my college days. It would have saved me so much time, but also, I took all that time that I spent on that stuff, and I basically just used that time to go out there and learn more. So I appreciate everything. I probably wouldn't do it differently, but yeah. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, and comment down below and let me know, would you buy a car? Are you gonna buy a car? Would you buy a new car or a used car? Comment down below. Let me know. See you guys tomorrow. As always, if you want to join me on my main channel, link down below. If you want to call me and talk to me one-on-one on my third channel, Ask Me Bryson, where I take calls for 30 minutes Monday to Friday. Well, go sign up for a call today down below. Calls will be restricted, so get in while you still actually can. If you want to follow me on Instagram, here's my Instagram right here. See you guys tomorrow, and as always, peace.